Too many so-called Vancouver Canucks fans once again wrote this team off after starting 1-2 through their first 3 games. And honestly, as a loyal Canucks fan, it's not even surprising anymore. It's just the same thing over and over. But they get awfully quiet when the Canucks start to win. Funny how that works. I'm not saying this team's gonna win the cup this year, but why are we writing the team off after just 3 games? Through the first 3 games, they didn't look great, that's fair, and especially early on in the games, they found themselves trailing. Even in Game 4 against Dallas, they went down 2-0 after the first, and I won't lie, I was a little nervous about this game, just because it felt like we were starting off the same way we did in those previous games. Just slow, lethargic, and always a step behind on the forecheck. But this team, man, this team put up 4 unanswered goals against one of the better teams in the West, the Dallas Stars. The Canucks completely took over in the second period. Vander Kane started it off with a nasty Hail Mary play to Filipino, who went all alone on the breakaway, and of course he sniped it. 3 goals on the year for our 2C. Hell yeah. Besser scored shortly after, redirecting a Quinn Hughes shot from the point. Hughes is so back. And when he's on, the Canucks are at their best. Max Sasson scored a beauty goal, absolutely burning rubber down the wing. He's staying in the lineup, no doubt about it. Garland scored a nasty goal, showcasing his hands and skill. Garland's been a huge bright spot for this offense. Every shift, Garland is just grinding the corners. Demko once again looked really solid out there. When Demko plays like Demko, the Canucks can beat anybody. And there aren't a ton of teams in the NHL that get consistent goaltending on a nightly basis. It's good to see him back and healthy. Now, the elephant in the room, well, for most fans, Petey hasn't scored yet, but you can tell he's starting to gain his confidence back. On the second game of the Canucks road trip, EP40 was starting to look like his former self. He was making plays, and he was actually deking again, even hitting the crossbar later in this game. He just couldn't buy a goal in that game against Chicago. Canucks had one of their best starts to a game this season when they played Chicago. I know they went down 2-0 early. Shocker, but this has been their go-to for some reason. They're winning games, I'm not complaining. But the effort was there. They were hitting early and often, skating well, first to the puck, and they were getting chances early. Jake DeBrusk got the Canucks on the board in the second period, and then the reassembled Abbey line went to work. Baines, Sasson, and Carlson. This line just forechecks really well. They're great along the boards, great at getting loose pucks, and the chemistry's clearly there. Sasson even mentioned that they've played over 150 pro games together, which is evident because they've been a huge reason why the Canucks have done so well on this road trip. I know the Canucks probably shouldn't have taken Chicago to a shootout, but hey, 2 points is 2 points. Considering the Canucks lost pretty much every game in overtime or shootout last year, it's a positive. Moving on to game 3 of this road trip against the Washington Capitals. Now, this by far was their best period of hockey, scoring 3 goals in the first period, but 4 unanswered. Petey finally gets the monkey off his back by scoring a beauty with less than a minute in. EP40 haters, where you at? Where are you at? Petey had a great game today. He even blocked a few OV shots in the dying minutes of the game. Myers scored the second goal after a nice play by Hedl to take the puck to the net, create a little bit of havoc. Myers found the rebound, and the Canucks were up 2-0. Speaking of Philip Hedl, very unfortunate. There was this crazy hit by Tom Wilson. It was a little late. It's arguable, but at least it wasn't a headshot, but still possible that Hedl could have a concussion just due to his previous history with injuries, or at the least a few broken ribs. Either way, I hope he's all right. He's been playing well to start the season. Kiefer Sherwood scored a 3rd goal for Vancouver in the 3rd period. Nice play by Garland on the power play. Man, this first period from the Canucks was honestly impressive. In the early games, they're not as great, but they were working the Capitals early in this game. Mancini stepped in the second period and dropped the gloves with Brandon Duhaime. Definitely needed that after that Hedl hit. Nice to see the young players get involved. Blueger and Kane had a nice sequence on the 4th goal, capitalizing on a turnover. During the first few games, Vancouver was struggling to score and generate any offense, so it's definitely a nice change, especially on such a tight schedule and turnaround. Once again, Demko played great. The Capitals did end up scoring a few to make it a closer game, right down to the wire, but the Canucks held on, and that's another huge win. These games early on in the season are so crucial when February and March come around. But overall, the first 3 games of the road trip have been a success. 6 points out of a possible 6 points. You really can't complain. They've been playing a lot better, definitely more confident, and it's just been exciting hockey to watch. Anyways, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are about how the Canucks have been playing. But until next time, peace out.